Object-oriented analysis and design with the unified process. Requirements to analysis. So what are all the requirements gathered from the customer will be converted into an analysis model. So the analysis model consists of starting analysis system, analysis package. An analysis package contains groups of analysis classes which are further divided into use case realization by analysis, typically a collaboration diagram. So analysis model realizing a use case. From the requirements model we go to analysis model. For example, add pattern is a use case. When we trace that, we will get analysis model a use case realization class called add pattern. So use case realization, the process of extending and refining use cases is called use case realization. The realization of specific scenario of a use case is depicted using an interaction diagram, either a sequence diagram or a collaboration diagram. So a sequence diagram is mainly consisting of sequences, messages and the communication between classes. Here entity class is communicating with the control class. So this is called communication collaboration diagram components. So introduction to classification exercise. For example, take the following list of all the items and group them into classes: stick, ball, pen, paperclip, bean, rubber band, pencil, glue. So introduction to classification exercise further continued. So we can derive a hierarchy of classes: vertebrate, mammal and Homo sapien. So like this hierarchy of classes going from top to bottom and bottom to top. So further, the methods, complex movements of the animals, attributes like backbone, additional methods, additional attributes, additional others methods at higher levels and lower order levels of abstraction can be added. So the basic amount of classification is from top to down or bottom to up. So approaches for classifying classes: the non-phrase approach, the common class patterns approach, the use case driven approach, the classes responsibility collaboration approach. So already we have seen how to classify things based on the tangible things: roles played, organization used, devices, incidents, events or interactions, sites and locations. So the unified process does not describe how classes are extracted. Users of the unified are expected to have background in object-oriented analysis. We temporarily suspend this discussion of the unified process to explain how they share and then return to the unified process. Analyze the use case technique. So identify classes whose object classes are needed to perform the use case flow of events. Showing a view of the use case emphasizes coupling. Uses the same symbols as the sequence diagram for actors, objects and messages. Lifeline symbols are not used. Link symbols indicate that two items share a message. Numbers indicate the sequence in which messages are sent. So this is the example of a communication diagram. So an actor and an object 1 and object 2. So actor interacts with different set of objects in a timer sequence, and the interaction of the messages is shown in this example. So here we can see the links. The links form the communication between one object and another object. So for example, we will see another example: a pay order use case realization class diagram with stereotype icons with stereotype labels. Here we can see the buyer making a payment request, user interface, order handler, order confirmation, invoice, payment request. So all these set of use cases are converted into classes by means of boundary class, control class and entity class. Finally, these same classes are converted into classes. Now how to analyze a use case technique? So a pay order use case realization diagram, the sequence of collaboration classes can be linked with messages. For example, a buyer browses for invoice, that is the first message, and the second message can be browse option which generates the invoice, and the third option is check invoice which is going to the order handler, and the fourth message is get, which again comes to the invoice class, and the fifth message is get that order confirmation, and the sixth message is schedule invoice for payment, and the seventh message is schedule payment, and the eighth one is new payment request, and finally the ninth message get the status of the scheduled invoice. So all these type of messages are called as methods. So these messages which are incoming to the corresponding classes or receiving class, they are the holding places for the methods. And finally we will group all these classes, and these objects become the classes, and the receiving of the messages will hold the corresponding methods. So this is how we can create an example for a pay order using the use case realization, and we can go up to from the class level to the collaboration diagram to further generate some more additional methods. Similarly, we can see another example like librarian package. So where the analysis classes which are generated by use case realizations are use case model, so add pattern, so which generates a use case realization class, add pattern. So this, if you want to execute this type of association classes or use case realization classes, we require certain set of interfaces. They are librarian interface, library card reader, pattern factory which is a control class, pattern catalog, pattern entity class, and library card entity class. So the boundary classes, there are two boundary classes required, two control classes required, and two entity classes required. So these set of classes form the analysis model to run the use case add pattern. So like this we can use the use case realization diagram to further develop the collaboration diagram, which helps us to add the methods required to implement these classes. From the collaboration diagram we go to the sequence diagram, and further finally we can add additional methods to the respective classes. So this is how we can generate the collaboration diagram. So from the use case model, slowly we are moving to the analysis model, and finally to the design model, which concludes at the implementation. So the same example can be redrawn for sequence diagram, and these sequence and collaboration diagrams are complementary, and they add two dimensions of the same data. So analyze the use case techniques. So the guidelines are invoke use case by a message from actor instance to a boundary object. Each analysis class should have at least one object in collaboration diagram. Messages are not yet assigned to operations. Denote the intent of the invoking object when interacting with the invoked object. Responsibility of the invoked object. Links in collaboration are instances of associations between analysis classes. Sequence is not primary focus. Exclude if cluttered. Capture use case relations. Example, if case A specializes case B, then diagram of A refers to diagram of B. So these are all the methods to convert an use case into a collaboration diagram. Thank you.